Hi everyone, just wanted to do a quick video. First things first, it's been a couple of weeks since the Sensei Seth video, and I have a bunch of subscribers now. So for all the people who have joined based off of that video, came to the Warrior Sesh channel, welcome, hello. Hopefully I'll be making more content. I have a couple videos in the works and stuff, but the channel is not dead. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. What this video is about is one of the things I saw, just looking over the comments and things, seeing how well the video did, was that a lot of people had questions about the durability of lever shields, African lever shields. So the shield I had in the video was my AR that Osa made for me. And basically, I said something about the shield being able to stop lances. And, a lot of people commented and said, well, that doesn't make sense to me. A lever shield can't be that durable, and different things. And so I kind of addressed it in the comments, as well as some other HEMA members did there, but I wanted to have a video on it. I'll also link my shield discussion that I made, which kind of talks more broadly about the different shield technologies and stuff that were developed in Africa. But as just a brief video, a general overview, a lot of African soldiers, whether mounted or on foot, didn't wear any kind of armor. Even in the Sahel, while you do have the heavy cavalry units, you also have the infantry and the light cavalry, which a lot of times didn't wear anything outside of their normal everyday clothes, paired with a war shield of some sort. So the AR is the Tuareg war shield. And by war shield, I mean the largest, shield you could find. So like the battlefield shields. There are smaller shields. There are buckler type things that you can find that were also used in war. But when I use war shield, I'm talking specifically about the larger shields. So a lot of people were saying, well, lever shields are kind of flimsy, or kind of weak, and da-da-da-da. And I don't really know what you're basing off of, because, so there's two things. One, Africa spent a lot of time investing in this lever technology. And when you think about it, if the shield is the primary defense of the soldier, I want this to be really good. Because outside of that, I'm literally fighting with nothing. This is the only protection I have outside of blocking with my sword to defend my body when I'm on campaign. And most Sahelian armies are archery based. So the first threat this thing needs to stop is arrows. And there were poison arrows used, but there also are stronger warbow type arrows also used. They depended on their shields to defend that. And part of the reason why these shields can take so much damage is, one, the lever technologies. There's a lot of secret techniques and stuff the different ethnic groups have in creating their shields, but also they had access to probably the best collection of levers one could want if you're making a shield. So you have different species of cattle, different wildlife, hippo, high, elephant, whatever you want, basically, all the different variables of lever that you might want, they had access to. But, so you don't have to take my word for it. I'm going to read some quotes that you find in two books, African Arms and Armor and Atlantic Warfare, Warfare in Atlantic Africa, 1500 to 1800. So first I'll read from Warfare in Atlantic Africa. So let me find. So this is talking about, and this book is really cool because it's really a reference book. So it breaks it down by region of all the different regions that touch the Atlantic coast or had access to the Atlantic Ocean. And it kind of breaks them down by their societies, their organization within, and the weapons and tactics of their army. So for reference, this is a really good book. So it says, Cavalries were all armed more or less in the same way, whether in the desert, where all armed men were riders, or in the cavalry and mixed armies of the Sahel and Savannah. They rode in simple saddles without stirrups in the 15th century, and through by the 17th century, they had taken to using stirrups. They carried shields made of hides, which let no point through, which for most horsemen was their only defense in the 15th century. So, it goes on further. It talks about, the prevalence of helmets in certain armies and armor, things like that. But as you heard there, the shields let no point through. And, when you look at historic sources, there'll be things that kind of sound like hyperbole, but really what you need to take from that is these are cavalry armies. They primarily fought with lances, bows, and javelins. If their shield was ineffective at dealing with those weapons, they wouldn't bother with them, especially if you're talking about lightly armed cavalry units where they're literally wearing a shirt, a kaftan, something like that, some robes, and they need their shield to be able to effectively be a unit. Now, so that's for points. So spears, lances, things like that. Now there's different techniques. I feel like a warrior on horseback would probably rather have the if it's a lance strike. And I'll say African lances are a little bit different from European lances for the most part. They're more spear-like or partisan-like. They're not really like this concentrated armor-piercing device, that's very specialized, because when you think about it, a lot of people aren't wearing armor. So the things that you want your lance to do are a little bit different because you're not really dealing with too many people in full plate where you need that full impact point in order to do any effective damage. So that's another thing to consider. This is a different lance. These lances if you look it up, look like giant, elongated spears or partisan heads or something like that. So here is another quote. So this is from African Arms and Armor. And this book, which has become very expensive for some reason, is basically the best beginner's book you could have just for understanding, because it goes kind of like that book is a reference, but this book is very in-depth, and it goes into like the culture and the spirituality and some of the beliefs behind it. So this is a good book too. And it has pictures. So that's a bonus. The other book does not have pictures. But so here's the quote. There are artisans there who make arms such as lances and lamante shields. The latter are made from the skin of an animal called the lamant, which is only to be found there. It is white in color, like the gazelle, but of heavier build. Its skin is tanned in the country with milk and the shell of ostrich eggs for a whole year. Iron makes absolutely no impression on it. If it is struck by swords, the swords glance off. Should it happen to suffer a scratch or cut, it is damped with water and rubbed with hand, and the mark disappears. The shields and cuirasses made from it are worth 30 dinars apiece. So, in African Arms and Armor, here's another. So they're not talking about spear points. Now they're talking about swords. And again, they say that the swords don't do any damage to these shields. And basically, if damage does occur, it can be rubbed off with an abrasive, and the shield can still be used. So again, these are really, really tough shields. And as you saw, the animal they're using, the lamant, which is kind of like a gazelle, but of a heavier, like thicker hide, like a gamier gazelle, is something unique to that region. So this is not something everyone had access to. On the flip side, if you look at, even hides that are more available worldwide, like the Zulu shield was made out of cowhide. The cows that were used for Zulu shields, the Nguni shield, was specifically raised to be to be made into shields. And so basically you have farmers selecting and basically weeding out cows that wouldn't make good shields. So even with a cowhide, it's not like they took a dairy cow and said, okay, I'm gonna make a shield out of you. These are special cows raised to basically become shields. So, things go into that, like coloration is also thickness. So, if you look more into Zulu, you can find out more about that process. But yeah, so basically, to sum it up, these shields were tough, and soldiers, while they're not impenetrable, soldiers depended on these. These weren't shields that they felt would fail them suddenly. You could trust your life to these shields, and a lot of people did. Actually, before I go out, there's one last one I will talk about that I don't have the book, but in Swordsmen of the British Empire, they talk about I think when the Italians or the British, I don't remember exactly, were fighting the Ethiopians, and they said that when you would look at the dead bodies, you would see the Gasha shields, which is the Ethiopian shield, with maybe dozens of saber cuts in them. So like basically they're hacking at these shields. These shields are unfailing, and then they come to find out that the soldier was basically shot. So the shield didn't fail them. The rifle killed them in the end. So again, these shields were tough items. They were able to take thrust. They were able to take arrow fire. They were able to block sword strikes. That's the point. They are the primary defensive technology for many armies in Africa. So when you're looking at these shields, you really can't think of them as your typical European shield or Asian lever shield. This is an African technology. And so you have to keep that in mind. All right. So that's all I had. Short video, more content coming soon. And again, all the new subscribers, welcome. I think that you'll have fun with this channel. All right. Bye, guys.